We're almost at the end. We're almost at the end of pre-pets. So we'll have another meeting next week, March 2nd. I would encourage everybody to make that meeting. It is, I will say it's required because Renee Laws and Sheila will go over my Rotary and the basics of my Rotary and DAC-DB. Those two are essential because the first major program that you will have at CPETS is going to be an extensive program on my Rotary, where your goals are, where you record your service projects, etc. If you don't have at least a basic facility with it, you're going to be lost. I want to turn it over to Dr. Deborah Jackson to just say a few words about the survey and where we are with it. And we want more. We want more.
Before we start, can everybody please mute your speakers?
Okay, Debbie, are you?
I'm ready. Thanks, Pat.
Okay.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting evening of pre-pets. Many of you have already taken an opportunity to provide feedback to us regarding this particular program, and I do want to thank you for that. How know that we didn't get the rate of response that we were looking for, so that means that there are people who have not had an opportunity to give us feedback. Pat has already sent the link back out again, so hopefully you haven't deleted it and you can find it, but we will send it to you again. We're not asking you, if you've already taken the survey, to do it again. Do not. It takes about 15 minutes, estimated, depending on how quickly you read and click in and out of the modules. You could probably do it in 10, but please take the opportunity and provide feedback to us. This is an opportunity for us to assess our organization and our level of programming as we look to the future in developing leaders. It's a direct reflection on the abilities that individuals need to have and be able to utilize as you complete the program and as you complete your presidency. Discovered that you are awesome. You are some of the most dynamic leaders moving forward. So I'm really looking forward to you providing the feedback that we need on this short, and I say short, survey. So again, I ask you, please, as leaders, it's your opportunity to lean in and give us the feedback that we need, because it's the same thing in your clubs. You will want people to give you the kind of feedback that you need to be successful. So hopefully you'll take advantage of the opportunity and we'll see you do it again. So again, if you've already taken the survey, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have not, we hope that you as leaders will take an opportunity to give us the kind of feedback needed so that those following you can be just as successful as you are now. So thank you. And thank you, Pat, for allowing me the opportunity to beg.
So where is that survey? Where is that survey? Where do we find that?
We'll give you the link. It's a Survey Monkey, and you go in through the link. We do not share any emails with Survey Monkey. I always just ask them to give me a link so people can go in and complete the survey.
We put it in the chat.
And I will send it out again. And let me also say, you do not have to have been through the entire program. And you can say in the comments, that you haven't been in the whole program. But one of the areas of question is asking you, what additional programs and subjects do you want us to make sure we have? All right, so it is helpful in that as well. Before I introduce Amelia, let me just say today's a very special day because our member, Sheila Brennan, it's her birthday. So yay, Sheila, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Okay.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. What a surprise.
Yeah, you think I'd keep that a secret? Come on. Anyway.
When the Rotary's birthday this past weekend?
It's
Yes, it
today.
was.
It's Sheila.
Yes,
It's
today.
Sheila's
Sheila's
birthday. It's
birthday.
Rotary's birthday.
And Rotary is
Rich
the
looks
same.
like Paul Harris.
Yeah, yeah, and we got Rich, who looks like Paul Harris. Absolutely, Amelia.
I mean, we
absolutely.
invited a lookalike for the night.
Yeah.
Funny.
So here it is. We're being Rotary Day. Okay, today is about service projects. And many of you know Amelia. She is the area governor in Area 5, correct, Amelia? Yeah, I
Yes,
think it is.
ma'am. Best area on earth.
And she's been a club president. You have to be a club president in order to be an area governor. And she does projects not only in the context of Rotary, but she does, in essence, projects in the job that she has as well. So, you know, one of the things that we learned during the International Assembly was that the majority of people join Rotary to serve. And the majority of people that don't renew their membership identify the failure to serve as the reason they leave the club.
Makes sense.
So putting service projects together, understanding how to do that, making sure they're still needed and wanted in your area. Amelia is going to give us all the information and examples, and take it away, Amelia.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with all of you guys tonight and to share some information about service and spend some time with you. Hopefully we'll get a lot out of this, or you'll get a lot of it. Hopefully I will too, because there's always a lot to learn. And I see our president-elect for the Warrington Club on. Hi, Catherine. I'm glad that you were able to make it tonight. And I'm just enough of a glutton for punishment, and I can't say no to my friend Catherine that she asked me to serve as her PE next year. So I get to do this year. I'll be you next year. So I guess I have a preview of
Yay,
what I'll
we
be
like
going
that.
through. So woohoo. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides and get this party started and get going with service. So Pat stole a little bit of my thunder when I wanted to ask you guys, why did you join Rotary? Think back to way back in the dark ages when you decided to join Rotary. And for some of those, I know that's like a year or two ago. And some of you that may be 10, 15, 20 years ago. Think back to when that was and why you joined, and put in chat why you joined Rotary. About that all the way back in the dark ages, right? And I lost my chat. Oh, there we went. Lost my chat function for a second. I see service above self and service. I like that because Harry told me to. I don't even know if it was asked. I think it just said told. Lots of good people were asked to join. I love that. To give back,
Community
to serve.
service work.
This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. When I look at this, of all of the awesome reasons that people joined, and I love the legacy part. That is so cool in here too. As Pat shared in the beginning, one of the reasons that most people join Rotary is really to serve. And at the root of Rotary, at our heart of Rotary, service is where we more or less got started, not all the way to the start. And you think about 116 years ago, if you watch the video that that's out there of the reenactment of the first Rotary meeting, it was really about membership and about having high ethical standards. And quite frankly, it was networking. But it didn't take long for them to realize that service was super important too. Because if you're not serving and you're just there to take, you can never really truly give back. So as we get started in here, let's talk about service above self, of what our motto is. And thinking about that as you serve, that's an opportunity to grow your clubs with membership. It's an opportunity for public image for your club, for your community, and in your community. It's also an opportunity through service to be able to grow your donations to our foundation, because as people get engaged and they feel that they're a valuable part of this organization, they will willingly open up their checkbook because they know that we do such a good job with our money. I saw a couple of names that were on here that were in RLI with me this weekend, so it's good to see you guys too. There's a little bit of repeat of some of the stuff that's in here because there are some good snippets out of RLI. And I'll give a quick plug for the Rotary Leadership Institute. If you haven't been through it, highly recommend. I went through on Saturday with RLI 1 and I can't wait for 2 and 3. So would recommend that if you haven't signed up for them, it's a great opportunity to learn more about Rotary and learn about how to really lead your clubs effectively. So moving right along, if this thing wants to actually start my little slide here. Now turn, there we go. So who knows the 5 avenues of service? Or at least a couple of the avenues of service? Go ahead and put them in the chat or unmute and say them out loud, that's fine too. What are those 5 avenues of service?
Communities.
Community service, what else do we have? All right, you guys, we will, all right, here we go. We got some international there, vocational, thank you, youth in there, international. All right, excellent, good job, guys. So those 5 avenues of service, club service, community service, international service, vocational service, and youth service. Youth service was actually only added about 10 years ago, so that's a fairly new avenue of service. So when I joined Rotary back in 2006, youth service wasn't even a thing yet, but yet we did a lot of youth services. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But as we get going with it, with the avenues of service, we're not going to spend a lot of time on club service because club service is really a function of membership and public image and all of these things that make Rotary and make your clubs function well. So we're not going to focus a lot on that today. But what we're going to look at is community service, international service, vocational, and youth. And how do you, if you do those well, how can you grow your membership and get folks engaged? And I'm going to say, I was a club president back when Rich and I were presidents together. We went through PETS together. So 2011 and 12, it's been a little while since I was president. So I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. But one thing I found when we were building our club and our club service is to break it up really into five service committees. So while we're not going to focus on that club service because that's separate, really I broke up how we did our club committees, and I want to share that with you. And I think it's a good recipe for success within the clubs to be able to get folks engaged. So the big thing with having a committee is going to be to have functioning committees with designated chairs, because if a club doesn't put forth a designated chair and a functioning committee, is it really a club project or is it just a personal pet project? So if you see that in your, we're going to talk about assessments later for current project assessments, but if you're not putting forward a functioning committee and designated chairs to those committees and people have a burning desire to do it, probably shouldn't be done. So let's look at how these look, and what I called the done in a day projects is the first committee. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I actually borrowed that idea from the Junior League when I was in Boise, because I found those worked really, really well. Those are those short, sweet, done in a day projects. It's those things that are high impact. They may take a little more work for 1 or 2 people to plan, sometimes a lot more work for 1 or 2 people to plan, but we won't talk about that because we've all got suckered into doing at least one of those in our Rotary careers or outside careers. But think about those kinds of projects that you can do, that you can get in, you get your Rotarians in and get out. What are some ideas of those that you guys have seen in the past or that your clubs currently do?
We cleaned up parks, and it was a one-day project, right after winter and going into spring, so that the parks were cleaned up, and then they were named after us. So we did it for several years. It was fun.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, so I'm saying roadside trash pickup, Rise Against Hunger is a perfect one. So that's a little bit of work, a little bit of fundraising, and it's a huge impact, right? River cleanup. Our club did a fun one, and Catherine's in my club. Back in, I guess it was November, we came together and wrote handwritten notes. We had one Rotarian that designed thank you cards. And we got together with about 10 Rotarians in a great big conference room. So we all be socially distanced with our little masks and everything on. And we wrote handwritten notes to one of our long-term care facilities, to all of the employees there, because it's where we had a large outbreak here in Fauquier County. And we wrote thank you notes, thanking them for being, for taking care of our seniors in our community, and put a little $10 gift card in there to Chick-fil-A. And that was paid for out of our foundation, from leftover funds out of our foundation, as well as some additional member funds that said, this is awesome, let's put some money in there. And then we made a big banner that went out front so that those healthcare workers, when they came to work every day would feel appreciated, because we're hearing so much about it for our hospitals, but you're not really hearing about it for our senior care facilities. So it was a great way to be able to recognize them, and it raised the profile in our community. We're lucky because our publisher for our local paper is in our club and our president-elect, so that would be Catherine on here.
Yep.
And she
Yeah.
had a nice article with a beautiful picture of some of our members who we haven't seen in forever came out to that just to
Yeah.
say thank you. And it was such a great way to connect. So look for opportunities like that for Done in a Day projects. And boy, I'm still seeing a bunch more jump up, which is awesome. So take ideas from your fellow presidents, president-elects and presidents. You'll get some great ones today. I always recommend try to set a goal of maybe one a month is a good goal for Done in a Day projects, and a small committee can help plan those, and then your rest of your club helps execute. The next one is our local service projects. And I did preview with Rich, so I wasn't going to pick on him too much without giving him a heads up. I wanted to look at a really cool, larger local service project, Viva Las Vegas, Viva Vienna.
You wish.
Las Vegas sounded way more fun. But
Yeah, you
Rich, if you would, Rich, if you would unmute yourself, I want to ask you some questions.
Sure.
About your guys' awesome project. I've seen a lot about this project over the years, and about a year ago, I got to speak at your guys' club as you were just kicking off the planning for what would have been the 2020 year. And of course, that's kind of the blip on the radar. But let's talk about your guys' project. Will you give us just a brief overview of this local service project you guys do?
Sure. No, I'd be happy to. So Viva Vienna, town of Vienna, where we're located. It's an annual event that's been around for at least 30 years, that has built over time. I guess to give you some context of what the event entails. So over the 3-day period, we probably have about 45,000 visitors. It consists, it's a celebration of not only the community, but it coincides also with Memorial Day, of which we have, obvious recognition of that very special holiday. So it entails 250 craft vendors, several food vendors, 32 hours of live musical acts, a carnival, and just a kind of a general sense of a community event that is. I was talking with our Viva chairman, and he and I were just kind of discussing it, and kind of why it's been successful over the years, because I think we've been to events where perhaps they're more concerned about what the image is of the event and what it represents. But I think Viva Vienna, its roots are really in the community and the collaboration that we have with the community, but also with the town of Vienna, which is critical to the ongoing success of the event, to the extent where this is kind of a sticking point for us. But some people think that the town actually puts on the event, where we're actually the ones that are doing it, and that's fine. But that really creates a kind of a symbiotic relationship with the town, to the extent that they see extreme benefit in being able to leverage their community space in a very kind of comprehensive way, as it addresses both their mission as well as ours.
Awesome. So do you guys have a dedicated committee that plans this, or how does that work as far as marshaling the human resources and really the financial resources to pull it off?
It has to have that, without a doubt. And we're very to the extent that we plan ahead. As soon as we're having this year's event, we're always already thinking about next year's event, not only in the context of the programs that we're presenting, but the leadership that is required to put the event on. There's so much, I think we've all experienced, just kind of the the pockets of institutional knowledge that we find in our club, and how do you leverage that, but also how do you not lose that? So Viva Vienna is its own kind of sub corporation, if you will, or it's a very significant driver of obviously of what our intents are within the community. I mean, it's the primary driver of our philanthropic activities. So we have a chairman, we have somebody who's in charge of vendors, we have somebody in charge of music, we have somebody in charge of security. So we really go deep into the club and delegate those responsibilities, because it can be overwhelming. There are a lot of details, there are a lot of logistics, but the thing that you need to take into consideration is that this has been going on for 30 years. And so I'm not saying that it's a turnkey event. It's always a little bit different each year. It didn't occur last year, and obviously will be a little bit different this year. We're still trying to figure that out. But even still, when you have that formula in place, it's really, really important to foster the institutional knowledge and the leadership, and not only that, but create kind of a value proposition of why it's important to get involved and understand what the ends are. It's not just about putting on a 3-day event, but we put on that 3-day event because we raise $180,000 to $200,000 a year that goes back, comes back to the club, which we obviously push right back out to the community or into our foundation for another day. So it's a lot, but we've been doing it so long, and we've understood that it's really important that we have a very kind of methodical approach to how we deliver that each year.
That's incredible. When you look at $180,000 to $200,000 a year to be able to then turn around and push that back into the community, that's a huge amount of money. And I know just about every club in the district is salivating over that idea. And yes, it's taken 30 years to build that, but that's just an incredible accomplishment. And I had no idea it was that much money, to be fair. I have not asked these questions to Rich. I gave him a heads up of what I was looking for in this, but that is incredible. The question I had is, do you get, have you guys ever gained memberships or additional, I guess, partnerships as a result of Viva Vienna that you probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise?
Yes, and better in some places, with work needed in some others. It is obviously raised the profile of the club. I think even in this day and age, people misunderstand Rotary and what we do, and kind of what the mission is. So on one side, being more closely aligned with whether it be the local chamber or their business association and or the town, that relationship has built trust over recent years, which has been very beneficial, because those entities are, well, they're always looking to collaborate and leverage skill sets or whatever we can lend to being able to better connect with the community. One thing that we did realize is, from a membership standpoint, well, gosh, we have this 3-day event and we have all these people and we're running around on golf carts. What do people see, and are we doing a good enough job to educate the people that are attending about Rotary and about why we're doing this and what the ends are? So over the last couple of years, we've been a little bit more intentional about everything from some very basic things, wearing the same color shirt and having a booth, and being a little bit more deliberate about engaging the community. Not only saying thank you for coming, but this is what you being here means to us, and this is what you being here and supporting this event does for the community. So that has allowed us, I think, to better connect. I think we've still got some work to do with that, I know we're all kind of focused on membership, especially with the pandemic, but we certainly missed the event last year for many reasons, and that was one of them. But that's something that we're going to continue to work on going forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. I appreciate it. And I know that
Sure.
I kind of sprung it on you yesterday, like, hey, you're going to be at
No
this thing
worries.
and can I ask you a bunch of questions? So
Right.
thank you for playing guinea pig. I figured that a lot of folks would rather hear about that than hear just from me all night. So I appreciate that you did that. And I think that really highlights how a service project can also be a public image project, can also be a fundraiser, can also be all of these things. And I think that that's just incredible to see it grow and grow and grow into what it is now. I think is awesome, and something that that we can all aspire to doing. And I know any of us that have done events and have done big events know how much work that is, and how having a very dedicated committee and people that are really all in, how much better it works. But if you haven't done a project like that, or you have people in your club that are thinking about it, reach out to Rich and Sheila, because
Please do.
Sheila's in that same club, and others who have done these big projects. I saw flipping up here on the chocolate festival is another big event that I'm not going to dig into tonight, but there's some great, awesome, big local events. And events are just like a regular service project. Putting on a big event like that is no different than putting on a Rise Against Hunger event or any other one that's going to require fundraising. It's going to require public image. It's going to require hands and gloves. I say butts and seats, but hands and gloves to roll up their sleeves and to get the work done. All of those things are required, whether it's a regular community service project or it's a big event like that, which the service to that event is really bringing people together and creating that sense of community that 30 years ago didn't probably exist, and today probably exists because of an event like Viva Vienna. I know friends that go to that every year who talk about it. So it's a great way to be able to give back to your community and really highlight and fundraise. That is a huge amount of money. So good job, guys. The next committee, as I shared, if this thing will actually forward, thank you, I appreciate that, is the international projects, is having a committee that is focused specifically on international projects. And I am the first to admit, I have not been in a club who's done an international project at the time I've been in the club. I have been in clubs who have done them before me and after me, but not during. But I will say this weekend, we have our first meeting for our first international project since I've been in the Warrenton Club, and I'm super excited about it. And I got it. And I got this opportunity because somebody on one of the Zone 33, 34 Facebook pages. So if you don't like all these little random Facebook pages, like for the Zone and the district and all of these things, highly recommend doing it because you get a chance to network. And somebody had put out there, hey, if anybody wants to have an international speaker, let me know. I was like, yeah. Well, I coordinated with her, and it happens to be she's in our district. And Mish is a member up in Fairfax and has a huge project in Sierra Leone and Swaziland, which a lot of people in our district have connections there. And it's really cool. So I'm excited about the first opportunity to be able to do that. So we're having our discovery meeting this weekend. And that came from our club many times saying, we want to do an international project again. But last time we did one, we sent a bunch of people to Haiti, which was great. And it was a couple of times they'd been down there. And the last time they went down, like 6 people got dengue fever. Kind of soured people from wanting to go on an international project again for about 8 years. So we're excited about taking this one here on, but having a committee to do that research. So we're having our first discovery meeting with her this Saturday to learn more and really try to figure out, is it something that we would take on for longer term? Is it something we're willing to invest the money in? Because we're not made of money like many clubs. We don't have a $200,000 fundraiser yet, but I have an idea. It's not Viva Vienna. I have something else that I totally ripped off from Idaho, from a club out there that posted on one of the sites that I was like, oh, we could do that. But to be able to fundraise for that, and then to be able to build the community partnerships that we need to have to be able to pull it off, and the Rotary partnerships to pull it off. But the international projects, I'm excited about it because I think they're going to be so impactful. When I go to the international conventions, it blows my mind, the projects that Rotarians do around the world. and the relationships that are made between clubs, between action groups and other organizations to be able to just do mind-blowing things. So I'm excited about getting to be part of that. And we're going to talk a little bit about action groups in a little bit when we get to it, but action groups are another great way to be able to do research on international projects and to be able to have kind of that background for it. That fifth committee for service that I would recommend having is a youth services committee. Obviously, and I thought that was a kind of a cute picture with the kids jumping in the air. I was like, okay, that's adorable. I'm going to steal that picture. I love Google Images, by the way. But anyway, youth services, obviously you have to have a youth protection officer or a few of them for your club. But having a committee that's really focused on youth to be able to keep that engagement in place and that connection back to the club. But it's also an opportunity to be able to help grow your membership for your club by inviting those liaisons from Rotaract, Interact, and if you have a community core, if you have exchange, inviting those liaisons to be able to become members, those parents of host parents or the sending parents for the Rotary exchanges, because they've already benefited from Rotary and they've heard a little bit about Rotary as a result of having an exchange student in their house. All of those parents from Interact, great opportunity to be able to connect with them. And the way to be able to do that is to be able to have done in a day projects or a community project that involves your Interact club and or Rotaract club along with the with your regular club members, to be able to start building those networks and inviting the parents there. So those parents get to see that there's other people in the room that they probably know or they probably should know, that they can be able to join your club. So it's a great opportunity to do that. And in that youth services committee, having a subcommittee that's focused on those contests. The clubs that I've seen that have done the best with putting candidates forward and contestants forward for the contests for between RILA, speech, essay, music contests, all of those things at the district level are clubs that have a focus on that and have a committee person that's really that really works with the schools to be able to get those people in. I think the Gainesville Club does an excellent job with it year after year when I see that they put up folks for especially the speech contest, because they have somebody that's focused on, we have to find candidates for it. So, which by the way, that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So make sure it's on your radar for your club. But little shameless plug there. Not my shameless, but Gainesville's is in my group, so I'll take them. So then the last one is actually vocational service. So I guess I lied. There's 5, and the last one was really 4, but it wasn't numbered, so we're just going to go with it. And it's late for Amelia. So vocational service. So if you think about a vocation is really a calling, not just your job, right? It's not just your classification or your yellow pages. Yellow pages, the yellow pages thing that you had label. It's really the vocation is what is that personal calling of what you're called to do. So if you think about that, why would a vocational service, why would that be an avenue of service for Rotary? Like, how do you serve through your vocation? It's something that it makes you stop to pause and think about it. But if you think about those reasons that people joined, it was to give back. It was to serve. Some people had some things in there about high ethical standards. Some people talked about friendships, mentorships, all of those things, when done well, fit right into vocational service. And a way to be able to do that with having a committee is looking at forming a Rotary Means Business Fellowship. So joining with the other clubs in your area to be able to put together a fellowship, which Rotary Means Business Fellowship is like a legitimate fellowship. If you look at fellowships, like I'm a member of BREW, which is the Beers Rotarians Enjoy Worldwide Fellowship. There's a fellowship for everything. But you can, there's a fellowship called the Rotary Means Business Fellowship. And it's like the original networking group. People think about chamber, but with people that are actually Rotarians and live up to the same ethical standards as you. So it's a great opportunity to be able to serve through the fellowship and to get to know each other and do business with each other who already have those high ethical standards, because you've already surpassed that benchmark. But thinking about ways that you can use the vocational service committee to also connect with your Rotaractors, your Interactors as opportunities to be able to mentor, to use that vocational service to even mentor new Rotarians, as you have Rotarians that join who maybe are new to the area, maybe new to their profession, new to their job. they're looking for those connections, and you have folks in your clubs who have them and who've been there and done that. And they might be retired and be willing to be able to be that. If you're familiar with SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, they might be willing to be the Service Corps of Retired Executive Rotarians, SCORER. Hey, you heard it here first. I came up with it right there. But it would be a great way to be able to connect with them and to really get them to be able to be mindful about how to serve each other through their vocations. So moving from there, I was super excited, and Diane Hill was on, and I'm sure she's out there somewhere with her pictures up, because she said this last night too. Rotary just came out with their new Rotary's areas of focus slide and their new little logos like this past week. So I'm super
Nice.
excited that I actually snagged it and got it on here. You like that, Diane? Are you excited about this? I was very proud of myself. It's small wins for Amelia that I could get into it. I could get it to
love
work,
this.
and I got it in there in one day. Oh, that was Catherine. Great.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who that was. I got Diane's thumbs up there. So here's the 7 areas of focus now. We used to have 6. We now have 7 because we added an environment. Not that you have to do everything that fits into the areas of focus, but I'll tell you, if you find projects that fit in the areas of focus, it's a lot easier to get Rotary funds for it. And it's a lot easier to get your club engaged. Although we all love puppies and want to do stuff at the shelter too. We're not saying you can't do that. Just find a way to tie them into this, which mental health, petting puppies ties into health and wellness. Yeah, I think you can find a way to work at a shelter if you just worded it right? So if you think about how do you tie into those areas of focus, and you start looking at, all right, I've got all these committees, we're ready to go. What's my next step? The next step, once you start identifying projects, is really to take a step back and look at your current projects, really assess them. A wise mentor once told me to be careful with my yeses, because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And if you're on Facebook with me, I just used that last night in a post again. And I would say that Rotary is no different. If your club isn't fired up about a current project, and I say fired up meaning there's actually volunteers willing to fall behind a willing volunteer leader, you probably need to kill the project. If people aren't willing to invest their time and energy into it, and frankly, their money, it's probably time to kill the sacred cow, even if it's something we've just always done every year because we've always done it. Well, if you're doing it because it's an obligation, it's probably time to kill it, because if you kill it, now you have time. So how do you figure that out? So one, we said, get the willing volunteer, getting all of the stakeholders around the table. That means who it benefits, who's on the committee, who's been on the committee, all of those people around the table to talk about it, and talk about, is your current active, not current geezers that are there in the rhinos, they're Rotarian in name only, but your actual active current membership, and are your future members still engaged in the project? Because if they're not, it's probably not going to be a project you want to keep going. You want to think about, does the project solve a problem in a community? And I said ... still. So you look at like Viva Vienna, go back to that one there. Does it solve a problem in the community? Yes, because the community still has a need to get together, has a need to be able to celebrate, to have something to do on that weekend, to build community and commune together. So yes, I would say it still solves a problem, even though it's 30 years old, right? It also solves a money problem for some of the stakeholders and everything else. So it solves a problem still. So I would say keeping that when they're going, obviously, but you might be thinking in your own club that there might be one that you're like, is this my year I can finally kill it? So yes, you can kill it, but I will say, make sure it's a club decision to kill it. Don't be the president that killed the sacred cow and you're the only one on that hill. I will tell you right now, learn from my mistakes. I am the first to say I have maybe been a little overzealous with my red pen to wipe things out over time, and I've gotten myself in trouble. So learn from my mistake on that one. Get the club to do it, so it's their idea. Not that you're being manipulative, you're just giving them opportunity. So now that you've opened up some space and you've got these awesome committees going, how do you do a community assessment? So what I would recommend doing, and I've buried it on my computer now, so let me pull it out, in your January Rotary magazine, and I know you read it cover to cover, you tore it out like I did. There was an article on how to do community assessments. I would highly recommend that if you didn't tear it out, that you go get it. And if it's in your recycling bin and long gone, you can get it online if you go to my Rotary. But it's the February article on how to succeed at community assessments. Highly recommend it. It was a short, like 2-page article, but a boatload of resources on it. So I would get it just to pull out those resources because it had a lot of these things that were out there. But the first part of that is identify and engage your stakeholders in it. So knowing who in the Rotary Club, who in the community, who does it need to benefit, get those people around the table to have a conversation. But don't go into it going, I know everything. And I'm the first to say I tend to do that. Again, learn from my mistakes. But go into it with the question of who do we serve? Because who do you serve is who you want to have around that table. I would also recommend having some kind of formal methodology, and that actually also came out of the article, but have some kind of methodology that you're going to use as you collect this information so you don't start narrowing in too soon or playing favoritism because you want everyone to be able to have a say and start coming up with this. What I then typically will do when I do strategic planning for groups is then ask those stakeholders, what are your problems? And then really dig in, not just what's the surface, what's the symptom, but what is the root problem that they need to have fixed. And then from there, start asking them about what they would have for a solution. How would they solve them if they could? If money wasn't an object or people weren't an object, how would they solve it? Dig in and ask those questions and really get to the root of it. And then from there, you can start figuring out, can we solve it? And if we can solve it, does it relate to the 7 areas of focus? Not that it has to, but if it does, you can access some of the funds that are available through Rotary International. Just because it doesn't meet the 7 areas of focus doesn't mean don't do it. It just means it might be a little harder to fundraise under Rotary Foundation for it, but that doesn't mean shy away from it. If it's important, and I'd say anything that's super important to a stakeholder when you get down to it fits in that 7 areas because everything fits in there. And then of course the bonus on that's going to be, can you attract new members with it or attract new money? If you can do that, run with it. So once you have that, then you can really take it to your club and start putting it together and say, all right, how are we going to do this? And if you go back into your planning guide for your committees, in your committee planning guide that you're going to give to your service chairs is a great outline on exactly how to do all of this. It tells them how to put a SMART goal together, how do you have an action plan, how do people that are accountable, how do you do a budget, all of that's in there. So the great thing about all of this is you never have to create a wheel within Rotary. If you're creating a wheel, you're not looking hard enough. And it doesn't even have to look that hard. Just ask a couple people a question. All this stuff has been done before, so there's no need to have to start over. So things that you can use, so some resources, you can take a screenshot of this or get out your handy dandy little article I referenced, but you can go through the Club Service Project Committee, all the community assessment tools that are available on Rotary.org. You've got all of the Guide to Global Grants, all of these things. There's nothing that you have to create from scratch. So every project that's ever come up has probably been done by someone somewhere in the world. We're not all that unique. All we have to do is take that wheel that's already been created, put on our own little shiny spinners on it and call it ours. So as we call it in the Main Street programs, R&D, rip off and duplicate. It is okay as long as you give them credit, right? So from there, another place that you can go that I said was talking to your Rotary action groups. Rotary action groups are wonderful. And you'll see behind me, I have up my Rotary Action Group Against Slavery back here. There is an action group. There are 26 official action groups within Rotary. Highly recommend that you find one, even as an individual, but also as a club, to be able to connect with. So under all of the areas of focus, those 7 areas of focus, there are action groups that are already out there that are global that are doing these projects. So you can say, hey, I'm thinking about doing X, and either they'll partner you with someone, they'll give you the resources, they will help you through it so you don't have to start over, but you're able to really move faster if you're not coming up with everything on your own. There's a list out on my Rotary or on the Rotary. If you go into Take Action, it's down in there. You can go pull up all the lists, all of the contact information for all of the 26 action groups. The one I'm involved with is the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery. And that gives me the ability with my anti-human trafficking and sex trafficking projects to be able to build bridges and to be able to really focus on how to end slavery worldwide. And it's been great for me because 2 years ago, I didn't know they existed. And now I've had the opportunity to partner with them as the Virginia coordinator and really be able to move things forward and use those connections that I have. I haven't had to create hardly anything as a result. It's been wonderful to be able to have them as a partner. So with that, I am at 34 minutes, so I apologize for that. But I want to open it up for questions and give it all to you guys. The rest of the time is yours to do as you need. My contact information's on there. I will tell you, email me or call me. That's my cell phone. Yes, it's an Idaho number, but I'm right here in Warrenton. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions or connect you to folks, like I say, either around the district or around the globe. Just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. That was terrific.
My pleasure, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay,
My
questions,
coffee partner.
questions, or wanting to share club projects, and maybe you have a
I have a question.
challenge.
I have a question. How many projects are reasonable for the year? And what is everybody's experience? Is it one a month, one a quarter? I'm just curious. Anybody?
Go ahead, Amelia, you first, and then I'll.
As I say, I'll leave it open for others. I would say it really depends on your club and what kind of project it is. I mean, I can say, I think the done in a day, most clubs can pull off one good done in a day a month. It's a great way to be
Yes.
able to do
I agree.
high impact, easy things. But when you start looking at bigger projects, it really depends on the manpower, the budget, the energy behind it. So I think in very bankeries, it depends. Not helpful, sorry.
Absolutely. And the done piece can be as simple as, giving coloring books to your local children's ward in a hospital and having members color that first page, putting their name on it and their age, and the kids get such a big kick out of it. But, simple things that have an impact. But, as Amelia said, time, talent, and treasure is going to really be your bracket.
These day offs make sense. Somebody just said they have 23 projects. I think that I'm all for that. I hope that we can have 23 projects that we can execute in a very short period of time.
with
Others,
ya.
let's hear.
The done
Other-
today are really good because they're low hanging fruit.
Mhm.
We have really found during COVID, it's been very helpful because we can still pull them off in small little action groups. And that's been great because we can actually get people together when we can't be meeting, but you're in a very gray area, but you can still do some service projects, socially distanced, of course, but you can pull them off during this time and you still have a pretty high impact. So.
What kind of projects have some of the clubs done during COVID?
Yeah,
Great
great,
question.
great question.
We packed food. We packed over 30,000 meals.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
partnered with outreach in our Virginia. We started with Bailey's Crossroads and then broke off onto our own. They will deliver the food to your home, teach you how to pack the boxes, come pick them up, and they will deliver them to food banks and organizations in your own local community. You work with them on who needs the food. And it was wonderful. We got to do it ourselves. Once we found out we didn't have to do it together, we just went to town. It was wonderful. The whole club got involved.
Who's speaking?
Sheila Brennan.
Sheila, who was that organization? Sorry.
Outreach. I'll put it in the
Outreach,
chat
okay.
box.
Thank you so much. Amelia, we're on
in the
this.
chat box.
Yeah, Catherine, like, done.
Yeah, we're on this.
Yeah, Outreach is a very good organization. It supports local versus the other organizations which are more international.
Yeah, and at Bailey's, we do both, but we do outreach probably 4 times, about 3 or 4 times a year. And we're doing them in our homes. It does take a little while for you to figure out what the best way of packing everything is, but just know it'll take you an hour to work that out.
Awesome.
That's really
I
cool.
know
I
one of
love
the
that.
other clubs, I think it was Rappahannock Fredericksburg, weren't or one of those clubs where someone would take the orders of people ordering out and be able to pick up those meals for them and then deliver them to their house.
Hey, Pat, yeah, we did that early on. Actually, it was our satellite club that did it. Daniil's not on tonight.
No,
But
she
yeah, this early on in COVID, the satellite club, people would let them know what they wanted. They placed the order, go pick it up and deliver.
and that was
Nice.
great. That was so great, TJ, because a lot of people were really afraid to go out.
Amelia, talk about our baby shower.
Oh, there's a leader. I said, hey, what are you talking about the baby shower? So she turns it back on me.
Yeah,
But
no,
so we our
cohorts.
our Department of Social Services director just joined our club, and she's a member down in Richmond as well, in the Richmond area. And she came in and she's like, Amelia, we have I went and visited all the food banks, and they really need baby stuff. Like, she's like, there's no baby food, there's no diapers, all of these things. And we're starting to see, because what they were starting to see is babies that were children that were being malnourished already during COVID, but also
Diapers
they were
not
seeing
being changed.
a higher percentage of diaper rash and UTIs as a result, and other things, because families are making decisions over, do I water down formula? Do I feed them baby food or regular food when they're not ready? Can I leave them in their diaper just a little bit longer? And so we said, let's do something about that. So our club threw a baby shower for our local food bank, and we went out, we said, okay, this is in October, we'll do like a collection day, and we collected money, we collected things, but we also set up a online baby registry on Amazon and went through and put all of like the things that they would want in the registry and put it out through, again, our local paper, through the paper and online and all these different ways. And people could just go online, spend the money they wanted to spend, whether they wanted to buy a thing or put in a dollar amount, and it drop shipped directly to the food bank. We did over $15,000 worth of stuff in one day. It was incredible. It was incredible. And the food bank, it was just overwhelmed with what that response was, that they were able to share with other food banks that were around us that were also serving the same population. So that was super easy and a really cool way to do something during COVID that is something to maybe learn from for other projects that you guys are doing. If you're collecting for other organizations, but you don't want to have a actual drop off or an actual collection, is just do that Amazon registry, because people want to give and they want it to be really easy right now. And that was super easy. So something to think about too.
One more story from a club. I see many good suggestions here of what your clubs do. Diane, you want to talk about your welcome kits for refugee families?
Sure. I don't think our club president, Renee Calandria, is on the call, but traditionally we do the following 4 in the month of February for World Peace Day. But a couple years ago, we partnered with Lutheran Family Services of the National Capital Area. That's the primary point of contact for helping settle refugee families in Northern Virginia. And similar to what Amelia was just describing, basically we had a sign up genius. We got lots of other community groups to partner with us, like the Return Peace Corps Volunteer of Northern Virginia group. And we had it at the public library here in Falls Church one morning, and you could, on Sign Up Genius, sign up for, did you want to bring or donate dishwasher detergent, or dishwashing detergent, buckets, toiletries, and so people could donate money or donate those goods. And I think it's typically around 100 or 150 families that we were able to comprise a welcome kit that Lutheran Social Services defined. So at one point we were doing it twice a year, but it was, I think the Bailey's Club kind of partnered with us a little bit at one point, and so did McLean Club had a lot of people there the last time. So it was a fun opportunity to get some publicity or get some exposure for membership attraction through a community event like that.
Thank you, Diane. I'll take one more. Tony Weaver, I see that you're on, and why don't you talk about that computer project that you collected the used computer things and then got money and that gave you money to support one of your, I know, school projects.
Yes, that project actually predates me, so I don't have too many details here for you, but I think you did a good summation of what the project was. So that
Right.
is
Arlington was asking for people to collect, use computer, anything electronic.
exactly.
And
So all of those electronics were donated, and they ultimately were able to recycle those and receive a pretty substantial donation for
I
that.
think it was like $15,000. And then they were able to turn that back into their youth programs. So you're doing the community a favor by making sure that you're recycling and getting rid of that stuff properly. And by the same token, the proceeds went back into the community for youth projects. I would like to invite everybody to continue talking, but let me just kind of sum up. Amelia, thank you. As always, wonderful presentation. I think everybody enjoyed it and we've gotten a lot of good ideas. Next week, March 2nd at 6:30, we are going to have just an intro program for DAC-DB and for My Rotary. Again, this is imperative because if you don't have accounts, if you don't know how to work with some level of proficiency in it, you're going to be lost at the first program of CPETS because that is going to be focused on Club Central and all the things that are available. By the way, make sure when you do your projects, whether it is a done in the day or whether it is elongated project, I want you to take action photos. I want you to take action videos, and I want you to post those on your website. Share that with us at the district for the newsletter and our Facebook postings. And make sure you share it with your community and on community, social media areas, because you can't share it enough. Yes, Sheila.
And our brand new district website.
Exactly right. Sheila's done a beautiful job. If you have not seen it yet, please. It is a beautiful website. And the location of the learning centers changed a bit, but it'll just be up on the top bar when you open up the window, and all of your resources will be posted there. As always, I thank you for coming. I look forward to continue to work with you. I'm really looking forward to your year because your year is going to be terrific. And everybody stay safe. See you next week. And again, thank you, Rotarians, for being Rotarians and for all that you do to make the world a better place. Okay, and Jay, I love him. It's a Chihuahua, right? Yeah. Okay. Take care. All right.
Thanks, Pat.
And
Bye, guys.
but please stay on if you want to talk more about your projects. If you have any questions that you'd like to take time to discuss a little bit, we're here for you. Or you can all leave. That's okay too. Don't worry. You've done your 1 hour obligation. I understand. Okay. So we have
Happy birthday, Sheila.
Yes.
Thank
happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you.
I won't sing to you, I promise.
Oh God, if we start saying sound, have you ever tried that on Zoom? It's horrible.
Yeah, our club decided that they were going to try to sing the first couple times on Zoom, and like, I think that's why people stopped coming to Zoom meetings.
Right.
That I'm like,
Okay.
and don't stand to say the pledge because all you see is waste.
Yes.
That's right.
Right. Do we have any questions from the people that are still on?
Bob. Hey, Bob.
I heard a voice. Oh, that was your voice, Amelia. I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
just wave it at Bob Page.
Amelia, I have a question.
Yes.
Amelia,
Uh-huh.
I think we met at training maybe last year, but anyway,
So you look
I'm an
familiar.
AG for Area 9. I have Pat's former position. But my question is on these action groups. I wasn't familiar with this. So there are action groups for Rotary?
So there are action groups. So it was new to me too. So they talk
Mhm.
about it every now and then in the Rotary magazine, and I kind of apparently skip over them. But when I was at the Hamburg convention, after I spoke there, I was approached by the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, and they're like, "You should join the Action Group Against Slavery." I'm like, "Didn't even know you guys existed," because that would have made my life a heck of a lot easier. But there's action groups there's 26 of them that fall into the 7 areas, or at least one of the 7 areas of focus, and they're sanctioned, if you will, by Rotary International.
Right.
So there's some oversight, but they're separate groups. But it's a great way to be able to, with the like-minded people. So whether it fits in with your club or it fits in with something that you're working on personally, you have a passion for personally. There's one for Alzheimer's. There's a domestic violence one. There are tons around the environment and health issues, literacy. I think Pat said she's in the Peace Builder one. I met the guy who runs the malaria one. He's from Papua New Guinea, and he got on a flight with me when I was leaving Hamburg, and he sat down next to me, and so we chatted for a while. I was so impressed with what they do. The World Health Organization gives them $50 million a year. Basically, he wrote him like a 2-page letter and said, "We need $50 million to be able to do this," and they like sent him a check. He goes, "Yeah, we've been doing this for years," and he's like, "I don't have to report back to them. They said if it's related to Rotary, we believe in you and we know you're going to put it to good work." So they put up mosquito nets all over the island area around Papua New Guinea and all of that area where there's high malaria. I was blown away by him, and he's just like, yeah, these organizations, when you're working with them, if you're part of a Rotary Action Group, it just opens doors and gives you access that you would never get. And like each of the action groups have strategic plans
Right.
and work plans. So you're able to go in and use those to be able to help plan your own projects, which is pretty cool. So, and so they all have their own due structure and stuff. Like the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, I should know this. I think it's $62 a year. It's the cost of it's $62 for 5 years. It's the cost to buy a slave, the average cost to buy a slave.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty incredible what each of these different groups do. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
they evolved out of the fellowship groups, and because people wanted to do something, and as a matter of fact, the big last week on the foundation, when Lori told us about the big, huge malaria global grant, over $2 million. This emanated out of the action group originally. Rotary had a program for some time called Safe Blood. And so they formalized into an action group. And now they identify where there's need. So this way, real qualified programs emerge for these big global problems.
That's really neat. Now, would you suggest that it would be more like a president or vice president who would get involved in these groups rather than just a member of the club?
Every
No?
individual club member can be, if you're a Rotarian, you can be a member of as many Rotary action groups as you want. Clubs can also become members. So you can have, like in the slavery one, a club can join for, and they haven't given me the amount, but I think it'll be that a club or a district can join for, I think it's like $100 a year. So it depends. Like, so as soon as we get our due structure worked out for the action group, we'll be able to have where a club can join. It was supposed to be done a year ago. It was still not done. So it's not on the board. Remind
I
myself
put
of
the
that often.
link. I put the link in the chat box for you, Paula.
Okay, but I guess my question is, if you have just a rogue member, that person could be part of an action group too? Okay.
Yes. And if so, if you have somebody who's like, I am so passionate about this, and why won't the club do this? Join the action group, because you're still a Rotarian and you can still go do the thing that you're passionate about, even if nobody else in the club has a passion
Okay.
for it.
That's good to know.
And
Yeah,
that was
we
the
should let
purpose
our
of it
club
as
know.
well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
This
Thank you.
link also has a link in it to the fellowships. I joined
that's
the Rotary Pin Fellowship because I love Rotary pins. That's pretty cool.
We have some members of our who love pins too.
Yeah, well,
That's
we
great.
have
There's a fellowship out there for them.
Yeah,
That's
there's a
so
fellowship
funny.
on everything. Dave, of course,
Yeah.
belongs to the Whiskey, Beer, and Wine Fellowships.
Oh,
So anyway,
He and
okay,
Ralph.
any more project questions or anything? I see we still have 3 people. Fayez
Logged in.
or Siri or Bach? No? Maybe
Oh,
there's.
here
Thank
comes.
you. Thank you. And
Yes.
it was a great meeting and looking forward.
Okay.
Have a nice evening.
Okay.
You too.
Thank you, Fayez.
Thank you.